Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me here today and happy Monday. I hope you had a good weekend. It's a new week. It's probably going to be the same as last week, to be fair for most of us. So, of course, being Monday, it means ghost stories for you all. Thank you so much for all the stories you've sent. I can't believe how many I get sent on the daily. I love it. Keep it going. If you have a ghost story, a weird story, it doesn't even have to be paranormal, just something really weird, you can send it to this email address right here and I will read it out. Thank you so much, like I said, for all your emails. If I haven't read yours out yet, I just haven't got to it. I'm trying to go in order that they're sent, but then I get some really good looking ones come through, if that makes sense. So I like to jump on them as well, mainly ones with pictures and things like that. But yes, I am getting through, and I will because I need them for this video series. This series is very much based on Bailey Sarian's Murder, Mystery and Makeup Mondays, where she mixes true crime and makeup together, which is really, really cool to watch. So I wanted to do the same with ghost stories and makeup. As I love ghost stories, I love horror, I love all things paranormal, and I also love makeup. So yeah, that's that. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you, I am not in a great mood today. I have like the most trivial problems. I'm wearing foundation already. I've done my brows already. One, because it means I can read more stories out. When I film these, I like read a sentence, then do like 5 minutes of my makeup, read like 3 or 4 sentences, and do, you know, 5 more minutes. And it takes about 2 hours usually to film these videos for like, a 20-minute video. So without doing my skin, it means I can read out some more stories. I've also had a really horrible breakout on my skin. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to think of something new that I've used, but all around my forehead, you can't really see it with the lights blurring everything out. Everything, my skin, my lips, my eyelids, just everything is breaking out. And that's such not a problem with everything that's going on at the moment. But it would be nice if everything wasn't changing at once, you know? So what am I doing? That's not even an issue. Anyway, okay. So I wanted to show you the palette I'm using today. I never usually do this, but I thought it's so fitting for this video. This isn't sponsored. I bought this with my own money. I mean, that's like me in a palette, really. And then inside, we have these amazing colors. This highlighter, these 2 glitters, which are quite glittery, so I'm going to stay away from them. You know me and glitter, I don't really like them. This kind of like chunky stars, and then all this other stuff here. I mean, it says here Spoiled Cosmetics, but on everything else it says Spoiled Lips Cosmetics. So I'll leave a link below anyway, so you guys can check it out. I'll also leave a link for everything else I'm going to use on my face, including the foundation I'm wearing already. It's just my usual BB cream that you guys love. So yeah, I'm trying to think of the theme of ghosts today. Okay, I've literally sat here for like 10 minutes trying to decide what kind of theme it is. I'm going to do a look. You guys decide what it is, what I would have died from. You make up a story. Nothing too deep. Let's keep it nice. Okay, what am I doing? Ghost stories, alright. Oh guys, I'm so sorry. Okay, so our first story today is called Graveyard Demon That Followed Us Home, with a picture. It says, "Hello Robert, I'm absolutely in love with you and your channel has helped me a lot. Thank you." Right, okay, so this didn't look purple in the palette, I promise. We're going to brown it up a little bit. Oh my god. As the title says, we had a graveyard demon follow us home. So here's how it goes. A few friends and I went to a local graveyard at about 10 at night to look for ghosts. Let me say it wasn't my idea. That sounds like fun to me. We were walking around looking at all the old stones and I was taking random pictures with my point and shoot camera. We didn't actually see anything, but a police officer showed up and asked us what we were doing. He kicked us out and told us to go home. So here's where things get scary. My son was looking at the pictures we uploaded on a computer and asked me to look at one. I didn't think much of it because, well, I didn't expect anything. When I saw it, I was totally freaked out. There, leaning on a stone, is what we believe to be a demon. You can see he only has one arm and can only see 1 foot, but his head is clearly visible. Now the story goes on as we were experiencing strange things with anything electrical, be it in our house or our cars. My daughter's car almost caught fire if my son hadn't detected it first. My husband was very spiritual and wasn't sure what to do, but my daughter, being Wiccan, knew how to rid of it. After a few tries, we no longer have any problems. P.S. I do not know how to Photoshop, nor was it around when this was taken. The year timestamp was when it was posted to an app no longer around. This was taken about 10 years ago. Thank you for looking and maybe reading this as one of your makeup and ghost stories. Thank you so much for sending that. That picture, it's really strange. It looks like it has like ears out like this, or like there's horns. Really, really strange picture. I wonder what that could be. Any ideas? Pop them below. Thank you. That's a... Can I, before we get into that, can we just... Okay, this is nothing against the palette, but this colour here... Okay, it actually looks kind of purple on camera, but in real life it looks more browny. Actually, no, it doesn't. Okay, let's just enjoy the ghost stories. Everyone stop talking about purple. Okay, so our next story is called An Unusual Ghost Story, and in brackets it says Jinn. Hi Robert, I hope you're well and get a chance to read this. Love everything you do and all that you're about. Thank you so much. This story is actually one that my uncle had experienced when he was aged 12. Before I get into it, there's some background information you must know. In Islam, we don't believe ghosts per se. We believe in spirit-like beings we call jinn. They live their own lives just as humans do and should not interact with humans. The ones that do are harmful and dangerous. Okay, so when my uncle was 12, he used to help around his uncle's restaurant from time to time. The restaurant closed at 11 p.m. and they would begin to shut down at around 10:45, just before closing time. The workers would lock the front door, which had 2 locks, one being a padlock, and leave from the back entrance. One night at around 10:55 p.m, everyone was preparing to leave when suddenly a group of customers came in. How annoying. My uncle mentioned that he found this weird, as they would have refused to serve them so late. What's even more disturbing is my uncle can recall one of the workers asking another worker if he had locked the front doors. He said he swore he did, but how did they get in? No one said anything and served them. The customers came in, ordered their food like normal, they laughed and seemed to be having a good time. However, the workers, who were usually jolly and joking around on the restaurant floor and in the kitchen, were silent, as if they were robots just serving people. The customers had left before 12 p.m. My uncle was baffled. He asked, "What's wrong with everyone? Why is no one speaking? Why did you let them stay so late?" Everyone started looking at each other awkwardly without saying a thing. There was one worker who really didn't have a filter when it came to speaking and spoke in a very blunt, open way without thinking. He goes, "Didn't you see their feet? They were facing the wrong way." I just teared up. My eyes just teared up. Everyone sighed in annoyance that he would tell a 12-year-old boy something that would scare him. In Islam, we believe that when jinn take human form, there's always a physical aspect that is deformed. The customers were not people. They were in fact jinn. Hope you enjoyed this and use it for your video. Kind regards, Jam. That was amazing. I'm shivering. I've got chills. Can you imagine these people coming in and their feet are backwards, but you have to serve them anyway? That actually gave me full-on chills. That was terrifying. Thank you so much. Oh, guys. So we have a next story. This one is called Alien Abduction? ? Ooh. So it says, this isn't a story about something I remember, but something my mum swears happened to me and my sister when we were young. When I was about 3 and my sister wasn't quite a year old, sister, mum and dad lived with my dad's parents in a farmhouse in Michigan. The 4 of us stayed in the attic, which was finished to be like a loft. It had a bathroom, a little kitchen, etc. Cute. One night after everyone was asleep, my mum woke up suddenly. She looked next to her, saw my dad sleeping, tried to wake him up, but couldn't move or speak. I slept in a bed next to my parents, and my mum saw a tall, dark figure leaning over me and rubbing my head and face. The figure eventually picked me up and left the room. My mum describes trying with everything in her to scream. The figure brought me back and laid me back in bed. The figure then went to my sister's crib and did the same thing. Leaned over her, rubbed her head, picked her up and left, and then brought her back. After the figure brought my sister back, it disappeared. After it left, my mum was able to scream and move and was able to wake up my dad. My mum thought that maybe he had woken up to feed my sister or help me with something. My dad swore up and down that he had been asleep the whole time. The next morning, she asked everyone else in the house if they had taken us out the room. They all said no and hadn't even heard anyone walking around. I don't like this. My mum always told me that from the day I was born, she felt like I had been there before. She is a pretty devout Christian and doesn't really believe in reincarnation or anything like that, but is rather convinced that this is not my first time on Earth. As for my sister, since the night in the farmhouse, my mum has walked in on her talking to dead family members, and my sister would tell her that the man on the moon would come and visit her at night. Stop it. I think my mum experienced sleep paralysis, but she swears 25 years later, my sister and I were abducted by aliens. Thoughts? With love. You guys, your stories today. I'm actually shivering. I've got like chills. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about sleep paralysis. I don't really know much about it. I mean, I know with sleep paralysis, you can sometimes, like, a lot of people see the same thing. You can see figures and that. Can you see it interfering with other people? Like, because if it's something your mind's making up, let's say that's what it is, does it go to an extent where you see people being lifted up? I don't know. That's creepy. I love it. Amazing, amazing, amazing story. Oh, I wish I read that before. I would have done like an alien look. Next week. I'll do that. I'll forget. That was so cool. Thank you for that story. That was amazing. Oh no. Okay, this story is called My Best Friend Saying Goodbye, and I just saw the attachments and I'm probably gonna cry. Okay, so this is Dear Robert, I love your channel, especially your Monday Ghost Story series. Thank you. I'm sorry in advance for my grammatical mistakes. I'm Hungarian. English is my second language. Listen, you can speak 2 languages. You're already a genius. My grammar, terrible. Don't worry about it. My name is Leela. Sorry if I said that wrong. I don't really have ghost stories, maybe because, as my gifted best friend said, I block out everything dark. Darker spirits doesn't show up to her when I'm around. Oh, cute. But I have one. So my story is not dark, just a little creepy and mostly emotional. I know you said in your last video that you don't want dog stories, but I can't help myself. I do want dog stories. I just know I'm gonna cry. So growing up, we had a dog, a little I never know how to say that, dachshund girl named Booksy. That's cute. We grew up together. She was my best friend. She was way too smart for her own good, and she had the biggest personality. In May 2017, she was diagnosed with cancer and passed away a few weeks after. It was aggressive. The vet couldn't do anything for her. Her passing was the first big loss in my life, and it hit me hard. Although I knew she was in a better place and not in pain anymore. A week after her passing, I had a dream. In my dream, I was in our garden harvesting strawberries, and I was squatting next to the plants, and I felt a little poke on my thigh. As I turned to look, I saw Booksy smiling at me. She did these little nose boots a lot in her life, demanding pets and scratches. Obviously, I was so happy to see her. I hugged her and she rolled over for belly rubs. I was so happy I ran to my family, still in my dream, to tell them Booksy is there. She followed me in and was by my side all the way, but my family couldn't see her. I was so sad that they didn't believe me, but was so glad to see my little girl happy and healthy. When I woke up, I shed some tears and then went by my day. But my dream was in my head all day, bothering me. Eventually, I told my parents what I dreamt the other night. While I was telling them, my little sister came rushing out of her room looking disturbed. She started to yell at me not to tell her dreams to others. I was confused and told her that it was my dream. She told us that she had the same dream of Booksy 2 days before me, but didn't talk about it to anyone. In her dream, she was harvesting strawberries like me. Bootsy poked her like she poked me, and nobody could see her except my sister. We were weirded out by it. My mum told her maybe this was a way Bootsy said her last goodbyes to us. It gives me chills to this day. And since Bootsy passing every year, I have a similar dream of her coming back. And I'm the only one seeing her. Today I talked about it with my little sister, and she said she had similar dreams as well, but not as often as me. I find it creepy and at the same time heartwarming that my best friend checks in with me and still keeps me safe from the other side. Fuck. I hope you like my story, and I'm sorry it's long. I sent you some pictures of her and the young me. Oh my god. See, I do like the dog stories, they just make me really emotional. Thank you so much for that story. That was amazing. I just think it's so nice that it's like you spend their whole life looking after them and they become a really big part of your family. And the thought of them passing away and still wanting to come and, you know, be with you and still be a part of your life is so nice. It's such a nice thought. Humans coming back, on the other hand, not so much. Okay, so this look is incredibly boring, so I'm just going to try and add some orange to it for some reason. I'll do. All right. Changing the whole look up. Okay, so this story is called Bitch Ghost. So from the time me and my husband moved in to our house, we all kept noticing and hearing stuff. We just chalked it up to the house settling, etc. Then the kids, we had 3 kids under 5 at a time, started saying they were seeing a big woman upstairs. We would see shadows cross all the way around our upstairs hallway, and it would stop by each door. We'd have doors slam or just fly open, hear someone almost stomping up or down the stairs, cabinet doors would open and close on their own, etc. The baby would sit in his crib and play pat a cake and reach for someone to pick him up when no one was in the room with him. And he'd lay in his bed and giggle at something. Super creepy, yes. Then, one time, my husband was in the shower upstairs and I was on the couch downstairs. And at the same time, he heard something scratching the bathroom door. And something scratched the leather on the couch I was sitting on. I felt it and heard it, and I jumped up, and there were distinct visible scratches down the length of the couch. When I had a serious medical issue, it got to the point it hurt to go up and down stairs, and it would make me puke. So I was sleeping on a couch downstairs. Well, I was sitting down there, and it was about 3 in the morning, and I was in pain and couldn't sleep. So I was watching TV and saw something out of the corner of my eye. I looked in the dining room, and my diaper bag, which was sitting on the bench, was mid-air and then flipped over and was like something was shaking it until all the stuff fell out onto the floor. And then it was tossed across the room and landed by me in the living room. Right after my medical issue was resolved, my husband had to leave for a month for training in California. So while he was gone, I was sitting on a couch watching TV. It was right after dinner, and my curtain that was over our backsliding door ripped out of a wall, and I tried to hang it back up. Even standing on a chair, I couldn't reach. So I went across the street and asked our neighbour if he could hang it back up for me real quick. So as he's doing it, he asked me if we've ever had anything strange happen in that house. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, I hate to be cheesy, but have you had anything happen, I guess, paranormal or unexplainable? And I was like, yeah, actually. So I told him all the stuff and asked him why he asked me that. He says, I knew the people who lived here before you guys. It was a husband and wife, and they had 2 kids, and then the husband's mum moved in with them to help take care of the kids. So apparently, one day, her and her son got in a big fight. He said they fought all the time, but they got into a really big fight. She went into her room and took her entire prescription of sleeping medication and killed herself. So that totally freaked me out, but I was kind of just like, okay, so she's still here. So I sat in the living room after he left and just kind of said, I understand why you're still here and I understand why you're frustrated, But this is my house now, and I don't care if you're here, but you have to respect that. I felt like a complete lunatic saying all that, but I was at the point I can't deny something is here, and I guess I need to address it. So after that conversation, things seemed to calm down a little bit. Like we would still hear stuff and stuff would still happen, but it didn't seem as aggressive, I guess. And when doors would slam, or the cabinet doors would slam, or we'd hear stomping around, I would just yell at her to calm her shit and be respectful. And it would stop almost immediately. Or she'd do it like one more time, almost to get the last word, and then she'd stop. I never felt threatened. Honestly, it just felt like an overbearing, demanding, bitchy mother-in-law type. Yes, I know I sound like a weirdo and the whole thing seems so ridiculous, but even people who came over to our house witnessed it. And we had several friends who refused to go upstairs because they could hear her up there. She threw a tantrum the day we moved out and slammed my hand in a door and slammed the front door in my face when I tried to walk outside. Days later, our old neighbour was messaging me that the ghost was flipping the lights on and off and they could hear her crying and slamming doors through the walls. Oh, I feel kind of bad for her now. She was missing you guys. That's kind of cute. I was going to change this up a little bit and put more of that orange on because just looks like everything else I've done ever. So this is a very short one. Do I have an orange liner? All right, looks a little bit different. Okay, so this is a ghost or an angel caught on camera. All right. This was taken by my boyfriend's trail camera. He was trying to get a picture of a pretty deer, but got something else instead. What do you think it is? We couldn't figure it out, but I can tell you what I think it looks like. I love your channel. I can't wait to see every video. Sending you lots of love. Thank you so much. It definitely looks like a human figure. I think, yeah, but small. A small human figure? That's creepy. I find things like fairies and do you know what, things like that. I find that creepier than like ghosts and shit like that. Actually, no, we should do orange, shouldn't we? Something a bit orangey. Just a little bit peachy. I don't want it to be too orange. Okay, so our next story is called Mum and Dad. So it says, when I was 12, my mum passed away of cancer. And soon after that, my dad did too when I was 15. I'm now 20. I was living at an orphanage in Germany after they passed away. I couldn't really remember much about my mum and was more struck by my dad's passing. He was generally a very angry and distressed person and had a lot of misfortune come to his life. He would always wear a silver necklace and a turquoise stone in the middle, as well as a silver bracelet that used to belong to my mum. When he passed away, the caring home he was staying at gave the jewelry to me, but I had sent it off to be buried with him in the Netherlands, where he was born and grew up. After the funeral, my aunt, his younger sister, called and told me that due to frequent grave robberies, they wouldn't let the jewelry be buried with him, and she sent it off to Germany again. I saw the jewelry when it first got to the Netherlands, and it was polished silver. When my caretaker at the orphanage handed me the package after a week, I was shocked. Both the necklace and the bracelet were coloured pitch black. I didn't think much of it and cleaned them. I then put the necklace on and proceeded with my day as usual. The same night at the dinner table with all the other girls, I suddenly began to feel sick and blurry, also angry and not really like myself. I asked to stand up and went to my room where I proceeded to feel eerie. I was feeling an intense amount of dread, like someone took over. This feeling continued the whole evening. I was scared to my bones and found myself thinking of occasions that I couldn't recall, but felt like memories. I took the necklace off and it all suddenly stopped. I then gave it to my caretaker and let them keep it in a safe. I moved out 3 years ago and the necklace is still there because I was too afraid to take it with me. I forgot about this incident for a couple of months after it had happened. It was a sunny spring day and I was lying in my bed listening to some music and doing my homework. I had all my windows closed But suddenly a burst of wind came through my room that carried the smell of my mother's perfume. I remember this smell so precisely, but have never known which perfume it was. But this dash of air carried it into my room. I suddenly felt very taken care of and safe, like a warm feeling that surrounded me, almost like a warm hug from behind me. After this, I dreamt a lot about my parents, them talking to me and telling me things that I can't remember anymore, sadly. Proceeding to now, 5 years later, I moved out of the orphanage into my own flat. Some friends came over and one of them was a psychic's son. He always told me that he felt a strong burst of light around me, like a protective layer. I always put it off as I was still a skeptic. My beliefs were turned around after a car accident that happened last year in November 2019, where I got hit while crossing the street at 50, I don't know what that is, km something, 31 miles per hour, Jesus. It was a hit and run, but all I can remember was that I saw headlights and woke up at the hospital. Ooh. I was laying on the concrete, but I remember a voice telling me that the ambulance will be here soon and that I'll be okay. Over and over again. At the time, I thought it must have been the woman that had hit me, though even in the police reports it said that I was found alone by the medics and that the woman who hit me called the ambulance while she fled the scene. I did make it out without any long-term damage or severe injuries, which is truly so lucky because I fell directly on the back of my head. I had a skull fracture and only minor brain bleeds. After only a week at the hospital, I was discharged. So I believe that someone, or both of them, are looking over me. Oh, well, I hope you're, like, fine. That sounds awful. That's such an intense accident as well. I hope you're okay and I hope you recovered well. Thanks for your story. That was so nice. It's nice to kind of have a feeling that somebody somewhere is looking out for you, right? Well, guys, that is it for this week's Ghost Stories video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked those stories. Some of them, they were just we had emotion today. I pissed myself maybe 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much. Like I said, keep those stories coming. Send them right here. Weird stories, alien abduction stories, anything like that, anything a little bit creepy, a little bit weird. None of my like contact me buttons on my Instagram, YouTube, anything like that, none of that is for this. That is business inquiries, so don't message that one because I won't get a chance to read it. But yes, thank you so much again. Have an amazing week. I hope you're kind of settling into the situation we're in. Not settling in, I hope you're I don't even know what the word is. I hope you're finding it not too difficult, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'll be back here with you Wednesday, also until we have this kind of like quarantine situation lifted. I'll be posting an extra video on Friday for you guys. Honestly, just to give me something extra to do and just to kind of give you something extra to do so you're bored of watching TV or playing on the Switch, you know. And I'll be with you also on Sunday, so that's 4 times that I will be seeing you this week. So have an amazing week, look after yourself, have an amazing day. I know it's a morning for some of you, I know it's Tuesday for some of you, so yeah, thank you so much again, and I will see you very soon. Bye.